We're joined for the first time in 2023 by Episode 3.net's Andrew Whitelaw. Andrew, we caught up with Matt Dalglish, your colleague not long ago on Livestock, but good to have you back with us talking all things grains.
No, good to be back. Thanks for having me.
And Andrew, look, first of all, it's been the New Year's period, plenty of partying, Australia Day, but farmers might be getting a bit seedy in the sense that they're looking for seed and getting what they need for the next season.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I think a lot of farmers have probably not had the opportunity to party that much because they seem to be, I know a lot of guys in South Australia have only just finished a harvest this week.
Yeah, and some are still going in parts of New South Wales. It's been a very challenging season for them, but one of those big challenges was also the input costs to get that crop in, and then also, the labour and others to get it off. What have been the major talking points over this last year or so about the input costs for getting that crop through?
Look, it's been expensive. There's nothing that's cheap anymore. So, labour's expensive, diesel's expensive, fertiliser and chemicals are expensive, machinery's expensive. So it's been a tough one because even though we've had a big crop and nationally, and we've had reasonably historically good prices, the reality is that, the cost of producing that crop is also increased. So it's sort of given with one hand and taken with the other. But I think, look, there is some good potential signs on the way. We've got natural gas prices have fallen, and that's a really good thing for agriculture, in that natural gas really does underpin our fertilizer prices. And we're seeing that starting to slide. We're actually seeing fertilizer prices dropping around the world. And just the big question is, well, when will they fall in Australia? When will they follow the rest of the world down? The same as any other commodity, when wheat drops overseas, it tends to flow through to the price in Australia and vice versa. And so we should effectively see fertilizer prices drop if it follows the sort of normal sort of economic rationale that all commodities tend to follow.
But it doesn't always seem to turn out that way, does it? Is that whenever there's a hit to the farmer's income, that is passed through pretty fast. But when it comes to their input costs, that seems to take a while to filter through. Yeah,
well, it's really hard to tell because, in Australia, we don't really have, unlike a lot of other nations, we don't really have an industry where we can actually quite easily verify that, whether that is the case or not. Because there's not any sort of transparent, open pricing signals for fertilizer. Not in the same way you can say, I can look on my phone and see, well, what is the price of wheat? Getting a fertilizer price is not quite as, it's a little bit more opaque than other commodities. So we should see, markets do, however, tend to follow economic rationale, and, if the price drops overseas, then we would expect it to fall here. And same with diesel. We're still seeing extremely high diesel prices. We're still seeing, like I'm looking just now, just driving past the fuel station, we've seen diesel at $2.20 and, petrol substantially lower at $1.80. And that's an unusual occurrence because typically diesel usually prices over a longer period of time around about the price of petrol, but now it's considerably higher. And it's an odd one because diesel is actually cheaper to produce than unleaded petrol.
Yeah, it's quite peculiar, actually. Some mates of mine, I've got a petrol four-wheel drive, and they've got diesel ones, and suddenly the cost of running either one's starting to change.
Well, unlike you, Ricky, I've got no idea how much it costs to run a Range Rover, but I'm assuming it's you don't even look at the petrol prices with your big wage. But no, it is becoming a sort of an unusual time for diesel. However, there are some whisperings that we could start to see falling prices, which we have seen to an extent at the terminal and at the wholesale price. But anecdotally, you don't really seem to see that fall in price when you're filling up the Hilux.
Yeah, I can assure you I'll be keeping my 4-cent discount for shopping at the local supermarket next time I go to the petrol station. Just before you go, look, the record figures reported by Viterra in South Australia for what their crop was. GrainCorp recently reported, and a lot of them are wrapping up their weekly harvest updates and just going to monthly, but they've got 4.9 million tonnes in for GrainCorp. A lot of that will be heading overseas. Is there going to be an issue on price for our producers locally, given there's so much that's come in? Indeed, some of it sitting in in on-farm storage as well?
Look, I think we've got a big crop. We've got big storage left over from last year. It's going to be a really interesting year. We have seen in recent years our premium stroke discount to the rest of the world move more towards a discount. It started to improve somewhat in the last 4 months, I'm going to say. But it's still a big crop. There's still a lot of it to be sold. And look, I'll just be keeping an eye on it over the next sort of 6 months. But I think, we're in a very volatile environment. We spoke about it a lot last year, but Ukraine is still a major issue. And there's still, potential for issues there. There's Argentina's going through a drought. The US, could be touch and go, but there's still a long time to go there. And so my view is just, you got to sell your grain, but, keep a bit in reserve and price when opportunities present themselves that are attractive.
Well, something else you might find attractive is going to your website, episode3.net. They get more regular updates from Andrew Whitelaw and his colleague Matt Dalgleish at episode3.net. Thanks for joining us again on Flow, Andrew.
Thanks, Ricky. You'll make us blush for those type of comments.
Yeah, happy driving. I hope you find a good petrol price.
No worries. We'll be hunting for one.